Public Speaking, Doctrines, Practices, Part 4, Inspired Action, Reasons and Emotions. Every moment provides the chance for greatness. Every moment is a great chance. Reasons convince the people. Emotions ignite the minds and hearts for action. Hence, we need both reasons and emotions to inspire the people for action. As this speech should have the fine blending of reasons and emotions. The heartfelt earnestness is expressed by the tone of voice and emotional words expressed. The tone of voice also expresses the heartfelt sentiments and feelings. And the words also are important because there are words that convey the emotions. When an audience is predominantly intellectual, for instance, the university students, professors, researchers, then they need more facts, figures, and logic. A touch of emotion is enough. But for the rest, generally, the people expect facts, logic, but more of emotions are required. Emotions in little more proportion to encourage them, to inspire them for action. For example, farmers and factory workers, our fellow brothers, Amritasya Putraha, in the spirit of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, Mata Bhumi Putroham Prativya, we refer to the instances of the great men of this earth, great speakers of this earth, who have been successful. And hence, we'll be discussing the Lincoln's arguments in a court of law. It contains both facts and emotions. Lincoln won a lawsuit by this method of argumenting. A widow of the war veteran soldier had come to Lincoln with her predicament. The pension agent has taken half the pension to secure her pension. And Lincoln was informed that is an exorbitant amount that the pension agent has taken. Lincoln was indignant. How did he prepare his case? He prepared reading a biography of Washington, history of a revolution, Revolutionary War, by quickening his enthusiasm, by kindling the feelings and emotions. When he spoke, he recounted the oppression that had stirred the patriots to turn and fight for liberty. He pictured the untold hardships they had gone through, the sufferings they had endured at the Valley Forge, hungry, barefooted, on ice. And one such hero, one such soldier had died in that war. And the widow of that person has come for justice. When he was arguing, his eyes flashed as he poured out the bitterest denunciation of the defender. He said, Lincoln argued, time rolls by. The heroes of the revolution has passed. They are on the other shores. And now, the crippled widow of one such soldier has come to you for justice. He's been deprived of half of her pension by the pension agent. And she has come to appeal to you for justice. appeal to you, we enjoy the fruits of that revolution and enjoy the privileges achieved for us by the patriots who gave their lives. And then he concluded that she has come to plead for sympathy and justice. As he finished his arguments, some of the persons in the jury were in tears. Lincoln won the argument. Although it is a case in the court of law, he combined facts with emotion and he recalled the hardships that the soldiers have gone through. Let us recall another great oration by Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry is famous for the words that one of the mortality, if this be the prison, make the most of it. There was an Stamp Act brought in the United States, in Virginia, and he fought against it. And then he said, with these immortal lines, if this be treason, make the most of it. Patrick Henry was arguing in the House that we must arm ourselves to fight for our independence. The oration he delivered kept the audience spellbound. He said, Mr. President, no man thinks more highly than I do of the patriotism as well as abilities of the very worthy gentlemen who have just addressed the House. But different men have often differed on the same subject. They have seen the same subject in different lights, and therefore I hope it will not be thought disrespectful for those from whom I differ. I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. There's no time for ceremony. This is, in this moment, the question of freedom and slavery. And in proportion to the magnitude of the subject, and to arrive at the truth, I express my responsibility towards the ultimate power. Should I keep back my opinion at such time through fear or giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and of act of disloyalty towards the majesty of heaven. Then he says, I will speak the truth, the whole truth. But they tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and when British guards shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs? He says, 3 million people armed by the holy cause. We, 3 million people, armed by the holy cause in the name of liberty, and such country are invincible by any force on this earth. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant and active and the brave. Besides, sir, we have no elections. If we were base enough to desire, it's now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forced. Their canklings may be heard. On the plains of war, the war is inevitable. And let it come. I repeat it, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our arms the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field of war. Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have in life so dear? What will they have? Is life so dear as to be purchased at the cost of chains and slavery? Is life so dear as to be purchased at the cost of chains and slavery? Forbid me, God. I know not what they want, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Now, this speech concludes with peroration, with extreme emotional outburst. The listeners know what Patrick Henry wants to convey to them. It is recorded here in this speech that a listener who was just listening from the window, he collapsed, but he survived, and in his will he said, the place where he fell down listening to Patrick Henry's speeches, he should be buried. This was the impact of Patrick Henry's speech. One thing is very important in this profession of oratory and public speaking, that we should speak with causes, short sentences with pauses, to add emphasis to the statement, to the expressions, and to enhance the depth and capacity of our voice to speak, we need practice. There's prescribed different kind of practices. As for me, what practice I've done, I submit here that I had joined the class for classical music, where we learn to articulate in mandra, madhya and tivra, in a slow voice, in whispering voice, in a normal range of voice, and in alap, in the high-pitched voice. So, that high-pitched voice, elongation of the swara, and the whispering low-pitched voice and the middle tone, this is what is expected in our eloquence, in our speech. So when we spare, or we speak as a normal tone, in the conversational tone, but animated conversational tone, or the high-pitched voice, for instance, if Winston Churchill was to speak the word war, he will not say war simply, he will say war. It conveys the idea that something big has happened. Another thing, what Churchill did, was to write in short phrases, in short sentences, that enabled him to speak with emphasis, with pauses, and enabled the audience, the listeners, to understand what he wanted to convey. Those short sentences appeared like phrases of poetry, sentences of poetry, like epigrams in a lapidary style, like sonnets. It will be appropriate here to mention that Churchill had a great sense of destiny, of power and greatness. He was inspired by the ancient glory. He had a vision for thousands of years ahead, and he was in that mood, he was acting in the present. And with that inspiration, his life and destiny was shaped. Here I am referring to Churchill's order to sing the Bismarck. Bismarck was a German warship. He was entering the high seas. And Churchill was informed that if the Bismarck survives, the warship Bismarck survives, it will have a field day sinking British and American ships. Churchill learned this. He made a decision that Bismarck had to be sunk. And he gave his orders to his generals. And that order is recorded for posterity. And it is appropriate to mention the order because we have to prepare ourselves in the spirit in which this order has been conveyed and to get ready for becoming a statesman of merit like Churchill, because oratory leads to statesmanship. A person who can become an effective orator will become a leader of humankind. It's the essential quality of a leader, great leader, that he becomes a great orator. So what did Churchill say to his officers, to the fleet officers? He said in the most unmistakable tones, the Prime Minister, Churchill says, your job is to sink the Bismarck. That is your overriding duty, and no other consideration or to have any weight whatsoever. The general replies, yes, Mr. Prime Minister. Then the Churchill asked him, what about Ramillies? What about Rodneys? The general replies, orders are being issued at the moment, Prime Minister. Churchill says, revenge, force. The general says, they have their orders. You are taking, Churchill again reminds him, you are taking every possible step to see that Bismarck is going to be sunk. The general says, yes, Prime Minister. Churchill again reminds him not only the possible steps, not only the easy steps and obvious steps, but the difficult steps and the almost impossible steps and all quite impossible steps. You can manage as well. The eyes of the whole world are looking towards you. You do not have to remind me about that, Mr. Prime Minister. Churchill says, well, remember, sink the Bismarck, goodbye. This was a short order. Bismarck was sunk. So, in order to become a great speaker, great orator, and a great statesman, because oratory is a subject, effective speaking is a subject that will make us great in any field of life that we enter into, as a professor, as a statesman, or in whatever field of life we go. Speaking is important. So, we must have this determination, what Churchill has expressed while commanding the destruction of the warship Bismarck. A great speaker is the great leader in the making.